won't save you. We're opening the doors to a world where darkness doesn't just blind, it consumes the soul. Here, in the darkest corners of the night, even your breath can become a harbinger of nightmares. Question everything you knew about safety and comfort. Are you prepared to hear eerie whispers from nowhere invade your mind and torment every thought? Leave your fears at the door, because what we show you will make them burst forth. Are you ready to journey into the dark corners where every sound and shadow harbors an unknown danger? Sit tight and brace yourself, for the night is just beginning, and its horror could become your eternal companion. It's time to step into a world with no way back, where darkness will be your only guide.
In the quaint town of Eldridge Hollow, nestled between verdant hills and shrouded in an air of nostalgia, a group of friends stumbled upon an old camera while rummaging through the dusty attic of an abandoned house. The camera, a relic from a bygone era, bore the wear and tear of time, but it held an inexplicable allure. Among them were Sarah, a curious and adventurous spirit, Mark, the skeptic of the group, and Lisa, an aspiring filmmaker with a penchant for the supernatural. They had gathered that evening, seeking thrills and the kind of stories that would linger in their minds long after the sun dipped below the horizon. The attic was dimly lit and cluttered, filled with forgotten memories and the scent of musty wood. As Sarah wiped away the dust, she discovered a faded label attached to the camera that read, "Mysterious Video." Intrigued, the friends decided to take their find back to Mark's house, where they could view the footage on his old projector. Their hearts raced with excitement, the thrill of the unknown fueling their determination to uncover the secrets hidden within the camera. Once they set up the projector, the dim light flickered to life, casting shadows on the walls. The video began with a series of disjointed images, ethereal landscapes, fleeting silhouettes, and unsettling distortions of reality. As they watched, a chill ran down their spines. The footage seemed to capture something beyond the ordinary, revealing terrifying astral phenomena that beckoned the viewer into an unsettling realm. Inexplicable sounds echoed through the room as the images morphed into nightmarish illusions, each frame more disorienting than the last. The friends exchanged nervous glances, their initial curiosity morphing into a growing sense of dread. Little did they know that their decision to watch the video would unleash a series of brutal illusions and physical manifestations, forever altering their lives and testing the very limits of their sanity. Mark shifted uncomfortably in his seat, his skepticism beginning to falter.
Maybe we shouldn't be watching this,
he muttered. Lisa, gripping the edge of her chair, felt a chill sweep through the room. Just as she was about to voice her unease, a loud crack echoed from the corner of the room, causing them all to jump. Mark dismissed it as the old house settling, but Lisa could feel the hairs on the back of her neck stand on end. As the footage continued, the unsettling occurrences grew more pronounced. An inexplicable sense of foreboding enveloped them, each bizarre image on screen weaving a deeper web of psychological terror. Suddenly, the video cut to a scene of an empty street shrouded in mist, accompanied by a low, haunting whisper that echoed through the room.
"Did you hear that?"
Lisa asked, her voice trembling. Mark rolled his eyes, but Sarah nodded, her face pale. The projector flickered, momentarily plunging the room into darkness. A collective gasp escaped their lips, and in that suspended silence, a sudden chill swept through the air, as if the very essence of the video had reached out to touch them. When the light returned, the room felt different, heavier, laden with an inexplicable sense of dread. In the days that followed the viewing of the mysterious video, the atmosphere in Eldridge Hollow shifted dramatically. The once vibrant town began to wear a veil of unease, suffocating its residents with an oppressive weight. Sarah, Mark, and Lisa found themselves haunted by the video's chilling imagery, their dreams plagued with disjointed nightmares that echoed the horrors they had witnessed on screen. Initially, the disturbances were subtle flicker of lights, the creaking of floorboards that seemed to move with intent. But soon, the occurrences escalated. Mark, who had always dismissed the supernatural, began to hear whispers in the dead of night, voices calling his name, taunting him with secrets he couldn't grasp. Shadows in his peripheral vision grew more defined, dark shapes that seemed to drift through the corners of his home, lurking just out of sight. Sarah, too, fell victim to the video's influence. She started to experience vivid hallucinations, her mind conjuring images of the distorted figures from the footage. During her daily routines, she would glance in mirrors only to see a flickering visage staring back, a ghastly reflection that sent her spiraling into panic. Friends and family noticed her growing paranoia. She flinched at the slightest sound, her laughter replaced by nervous glances. Lisa, the most sensitive of the group, found herself engulfed in an overwhelming sense of isolation. She wandered the streets of Eldridge Hollow, but the familiar landscapes felt foreign, twisted by the heavy shroud of fear that enveloped her. The once friendly faces of neighbors morphed into twisted masks of concern, their eyes piercing through her with unspoken questions. Every shadow cast by the streetlights seemed to whisper her name, beckoning her toward the darkness. As the weeks dragged on, the trio's friendship began to fray, the bond that once united them, now a battleground of distrust. They would gather, each brimming with their own tales of terror, yet too afraid to share their escalating fears. The horrors of the video had not just invaded their minds, they were seeping into their very lives, manifesting as brutal illusions that seemed to materialize in the most mundane of moments. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in shades of crimson, Mark decided to confront his fears. He suggested a reunion, a gathering to discuss their experiences and perhaps find solace in shared understanding. Yet, as they sat in the dim light of his living room, a cold breeze swept through the space, extinguishing the candle flames. The room plunged into darkness, and a sense of foreboding hung heavy in the air.
Did you feel that?
Lisa whispered. Before anyone could respond, a guttural growl reverberated through the silence, a chilling sound that resonated deep within their bones. The shadows twisted and stretched, warping the familiar surroundings into a claustrophobic nightmare. As the room flickered back to life, they were met with a disturbing sight, an outline of a figure, barely perceptible, standing in the far corner. It lingered for a heartbeat before vanishing, leaving behind an overwhelming sense of dread and a single question resonating in their minds. What had they unleashed by watching that cursed video? Suddenly, an unseen force slammed into Sarah, sending her sprawling to the ground, her screams piercing the night. As Lisa rushed to help her, she felt a sharp pain across her back, as if something clawed at her flesh. She stumbled, clutching her wound, only to find blood on her hands on physical assailant, only the suffocating grip of the curse. Each moment was a battle against an intangible enemy, and the friends grappled with a gnawing sense of impending doom. The moon cast a ghostly glow over the abandoned house, its windows like hollow eyes watching them, taunting their every move. Clutching hands, they gathered their resolve, each heart pounding in rhythm with the terror that loomed before them. They had come to confront the darkness that had seeped into their lives.
You shouldn't have come back,
A voice hissed, reverberating through the hollow space like an echo of their own fears. Sarah's breath quickened as the horrifying images from the video replayed in her mind, twisted figures and distorted faces that danced just beyond the periphery of her vision.
We can't let it win.
She murmured, but the shadows swirled closer as if sensing her resolve. Suddenly, a piercing scream cut through the silence, and Mark stumbled backward, clutching his head as if to block out a cacophony of voices.
They're inside my head.
He cried, his eyes wide with terror. The whispers turned into a chorus of wails, each voice a reminder of their deepest fears, clawing at the fragile threads of their sanity. Shadows coalesced, forming dark tendrils that reached for him, threatening to pull him into the abyss. Lisa, her camera gripped tightly in trembling hands, aimed it at Mark, hoping to capture the truth of their torment. But as she pressed the record button, the screen flickered, revealing a blinding flash of light that engulfed them. In that moment, the house transformed, walls warped and twisted as the boundaries between reality and nightmare shattered. They stood at the center of a spectral vortex, where the very essence of their fears surged to life.
Face it,
Lisa shouted.
we have to confront what we've unleashed.
Instinctively, they turned toward the swirling shadows, their forms shifting with every heartbeat. The figures materialized, faces contorted in agony, embodying the torment they had all experienced since watching the video. Each one was a memory, a fragment of their shattered sanity, and as they approached, the air grew thick with despair. Sarah stepped forward, tears streaming down her cheeks.
We won't let you control us.
She screamed, her voice echoing through the darkness. But the shadows only laughed, a sound that reverberated with an otherworldly malevolence. They lunged at her, and for a moment, it seemed the darkness would consume her whole. But in a sudden burst of courage, she raised her arms, channeling every ounce of her willpower.
You are not real. You are just illusions.
The shadows hesitated, their forms flickering like candlelight. Seizing the moment, Mark and Lisa joined her, their voices rising in a chant that cut through the cacophony.
We are stronger than you. We are not afraid.
The words resonated, reverberating against the oppressive darkness, and slowly, the figures began to dissolve, their anguished expressions fading into nothingness. Yet the victory was fleeting. The ground trembled beneath them, and the house shook violently as the curse fought back with a fury that threatened to pull them into the depths of despair. A blinding light burst forth, illuminating the room and revealing the true source of the video's power, a dark figure cloaked in shadows, its eyes burning with malevolence. It was the embodiment of their fears, a being forged from the very essence of the video and the souls it had ensnared.
Fools.
It hissed, its voice a chilling whisper that clawed at their minds.
You think you can escape me? I am the darkness that resides within you.
The air crackled with energy as the figure lunged forward, its form shifting like smoke. The friends braced themselves, knowing this was the ultimate confrontation, one that would determine not only their fates, but the very fabric of their reality. As the shadows closed in, the friends held hands tightly, their bond becoming a beacon of light amidst the encroaching terror.
We can face this together,
Mark shouted. With renewed determination, they focused on their shared strength, channeling their fears into a collective force that pushed back against the darkness. The shadows recoiled, their forms writhing as the light of their friendship illuminated the clearing. In a final surge of energy, they fought against the malevolent presence, each of them confronting the fears that had shaped their journey. With every ounce of resolve, they cast the darkness away, watching as it faded into the night, leaving only a lingering sense of unease. As dawn broke over Eldridge Hollow, the sun's rays pierced through the remnants of the darkness, bathing the clearing in warmth and light. Exhausted but triumphant, the friends stood together, their bond stronger than ever. They had faced the abyss and emerged, but the scars of their experience would remain a reminder of the darkness they had confronted and the strength they had found within themselves. In that moment, they understood the true power of their friendship, a bond forged in the fires of terror, capable of overcoming even the darkest of curses. Sarah, Mark, and Lisa stood together in the now quiet house, the remnants of their battle lingering in the air like a fading echo. The oppressive darkness that had once enveloped them had dissipated, replaced by an unsettling stillness that felt almost surreal. They exchanged glances, a mix of relief and exhaustion washing over them as they took in the reality of their survival. The shadows that had tormented them were gone, and with them, the haunting whispers that had clawed at their sanity.
Is it really over?
Mark whispered. The question hung in the air, heavy with uncertainty. They had faced the monstrous figure born from their fears, but what if its essence lingered, lurking in the recesses of their minds? Determined to find closure, the trio decided to destroy the camera that had sparked their ordeal. They ventured into the woods behind the house, a place where they had once laughed and shared stories before the darkness had consumed them. As they approached a clearing, Lisa held the camera tightly, her heart racing with trepidation.
This is it,
she said. With a swift motion, she hurled the camera into the fire they had built, watching as the flames engulfed the device. For a moment, they stood in silence, the crackling fire consuming the remnants of their torment. Months passed since Sarah, Mark, and Lisa faced the malevolent force that had unleashed chaos in their lives, but the scars of that night lingered, etched into the very fabric of their being. They had destroyed the camera, severing what they thought was the last thread of their nightmare. Yet, the sense of dread that had enveloped Eldridge Hollow refused to dissipate, casting a long shadow over their lives. Despite their efforts to return to normalcy, the trio found themselves haunted by memories that refused to fade. Shadows danced in the corners of their vision, and fleeting whispers echoed in the silence, taunting them with remnants of the darkness they had faced. Each night, sleep became a battle, as the specters of their past clawed at the edges of their consciousness. Though they had confronted the entity, its essence seemed to seep into their lives, twisting their realities into a tapestry of anxiety and fear. One evening, while rummaging through old belongings, Lisa stumbled upon a forgotten box filled with photographs from the days before the video. As she sifted through the memories, her heart sank when her eyes landed on a faded picture of the camera. With a shiver running down her spine, she realized that the darkness they had battled had not been vanquished, it had merely shifted its form. Meanwhile, Sarah struggled with the weight of her own mind. The visions that plagued her had morphed into something more sinister, each day drawing her deeper into despair. She could feel the shadows lurking just beyond her reach, waiting for the moment of vulnerability when they could strike again. Mark, too, found himself grappling with the lingering effects of their encounter. Nights were filled with sleepless hours spent pacing, haunted by the laughter that echoed through the empty halls of his home, a haunting reminder of the life he once had. As the seasons changed, whispers of the mysterious video began to circulate again among the townspeople, rumors of a new group of friends who had discovered an old camera in the attic of the very house where the trio had faced their darkest fears. The camera lay untouched, its lens gleaming ominously in the moonlight. The news sent chills down their spines, igniting a flicker of dread that had lain dormant. They knew all too well the horrors that awaited anyone drawn to the video, and the thought of new victims left them restless. In a desperate attempt to prevent history from repeating itself, they set out to warn the townsfolk, only to find their pleas met with skepticism and ridicule. The darkness had woven itself into the fabric of Eldridge Hollow, and the fear that had once united them now seemed to fracture the community. As they watched the new group of friends gather around the projector, their hearts sank. The sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the town, and with it came the cold realization that the horror was not over. The lingering threat of the mysterious video loomed larger than ever, waiting patiently for its next victims. Sarah, Mark, and Lisa stood at the precipice, haunted by the knowledge that the darkness they had faced was merely a reflection of their own fears, a force that could never truly be extinguished. As they gazed into the abyss, they understood that the grip of the video extended far beyond their own experiences, and the horrors they had encountered would forever haunt the town of Eldridge Hollow.